Shout out to everybody. Your boy is back. I do want to say this. Shout out to Kaleidescape. This is not sponsored at all. I ended up getting the Black Phone 2 movie, right? So if you look, I've got the movie. I will be talking about it here shortly. This is my Kaleidescape, and Black Phone 2 is on there. I ended up watching it twice. You know, and I want to talk to y'all about the video and the audio quality. This is basically going to be very, very close to what you get on the 4K UHD. I think that comes out in December. So it's going to be very close, you know, because the Kaleidescape, they download movies in 4K UHD quality or better, you know. So I will say that as far as the movie, you know, I'm not going to spoil anything right now. I'll say this. It's different than what I thought it was going to be before we get to the audio and video. Very different than what I thought it was going to be. The first movie I really liked. I thought it was good. I liked how gritty it was. I love the authentic feel of the movie, you know, and you don't really get that too much in Hollywood anymore. You know, I thought they did a really good job. So I kind of wanted to see it in theaters, but I'm like, yo, like, I don't want to pay all that money to see this in theaters. This is not going to be like a home theater, like extravaganza with audio, like Tron Aries or anything like that. I'm not going to spend all this money to go see the movie, right? Let me just wait for it to hit 4K UHD or the Kaleidescape, and then I'll watch it. So I decided I was going to go to the movies because it's still in the movie theater. And something told me just look at my Kaleidescape app. I looked, and it was on there. You know, so I downloaded it, watched it, and before I get to audio and video quality, I'm going to say this. First time I watched it, I was trying to be a little bit too clinical with it. You know what I mean? I wasn't really paying attention to the movie much, just the audio, the video quality, all of that. But then I watched it again, and I found a different appreciation for the movie. You know what I'm saying? I will say it went in a different place than the first movie. You know what I mean? So let's get that out the way. As far as visuals, what did I like about the movie? What did I not like about the movie visually? Picture quality, I will say this. It's clean looking, like when they're in the regular world. There's like points where the main character is around like neon lighting, like in a hall or whatever. Like it looks really good. You can see a little bit of grain there, like, you know, on the picture. Some people don't like grain. They're like grain dissenters or whatever. I think they did it really good. I thought it was good. It felt filmic, you know, not too filmic, but filmic. But they have, this isn't ruining it. Just watch the trailer. The dream world, right, is heavy in grain. Like you can barely make out the picture because it's so much grain, but it's an artistic choice. I don't know if they use like the old Super 8 cameras or whatever they did, but it's a lot of grain. You know what I mean? And I do want to warn people before they go watch the movie. Like if you do not like grain, you might not like this movie, you know, because it's a lot of scenes that are in the dream world and they're heavy in grain, you know, but you can still make out the characters. It's just a little bit more difficult than obviously regular when they're in the regular world, but it that could bother people, right? But overall, like if I'm looking at the movie Weapons, right, I thought Weapons looked really good, really clean. I think Weapons looks a little bit better than this, but this movie looks good in its own right. To me, it feels like this is like a Sundance movie festival type of movie, right? And they gave them like a pretty good camera to film with, you know, and then they just explored the how they were going to film the movie, you know what I mean? So this doesn't come across like a big budget like movie that looks super phenomenal or nothing like that. It doesn't, you know, it comes across like an independent movie. It kind of feels like that. I would score it as far as picture quality. I would probably give it maybe an 8.7, like with picture quality. I didn't think it was like superb, you know, but I thought it was okay, you know. So I mean, it wasn't a lot of HDR. It wasn't a lot of like, you know what I mean, nothing like that. It was just like an okay, like representation of everything, you know what I mean? Like it was okay. As far as audio quality, right, I will say this. I was very surprised at what I heard. And the reason why I'm saying that, like when I went into Tron to see Tron Ares, I'm going for specific things, right? Like I'm expecting to be wowed by the audio soundtrack, even though it's a Disney movie. I'm just like, it's still Tron. Maybe they're gonna like wow us with the audio track, and I felt like they completely did that with Tron Ares. Very, very good audio track. There's a lot of sequences in the dream world, right? To where your audio system is going to get very busy. Right now, and here I'm running an Anthem AVM 90. It's a 7.2.4, 4 ceiling speakers. I've got 2 height speakers. I've got rear surrounds, side surrounds, LCRs. I've got 2 subwoofers. Everything went to work in that dream world. So I was very, very surprised at how busy the speakers got, because I didn't think Black Mirror, what is it? Black Phone, the first one, it wasn't that impactful sound wise, you know what I mean? So I wasn't expecting too much, and I do feel like the sound design complemented a lot of things in the dream world. I think they did a really good job with what they were trying to do. It had a lot of bass. I was surprised. I was very surprised. Some dream world sequences, a lot of bass. You guys know how Mission Impossible is, right? The Final Reckoning. In Mission Impossible, there is a lot. I'm not haterade. My subwoofers work. You know what I mean? My subwoofers work. Haterades, I don't know. Maybe he need to recalibrate. But Mission Impossible has a lot of bass, a lot of clean bass, but a whole lot of bass, right? But the bass is clean in Mission Impossible. A lot of times people can misconstrue hearing the subwoofers, thinking that that's how bass should be. You know what I mean? Yes and no. I feel like sometimes if you like the way the sub sounds, a lot of times that could be distortion that you're hearing. You know what I mean? It might not be the cleanest bass that you were hearing. And I like a little bit of distortion every once in a while. You know what I mean? Depending on the movie, some of them aren't really mixed as well, or they don't use in their, however, the Pro Tools, whatever, however they use to make the film, the bass that they use is not super clean, and Mission Impossible is an example of having bass that is really clean, but it's a lot of it, you know what I mean? And it's not really what you would really expect from bass, you know what I mean? So it has that type of bass, very clean bass. It's a lot of it in certain sequences, but it's not overbearing, right? It's very, everything works cohesively, right? It's your height channels are firing, you're hearing all of this ambient stuff going on, and and the subs are kicking in when they should kick in, and they're going to work. Your subwoofers are working, so I was very surprised by that, that how busy the audio track was. When they're in the regular world, it's just regular audio, you know what I mean? But one thing I will say, the audio level, when you're watching Twisters, right? You got to crank the system up just to get, the track to come alive, right? Or, there's other movies like that too. Furiosa sounds good, but you got to crank it up just a little bit more than you do, Fury Road, right? But it's still going to sound really good. You just got to crank it up a little bit. This is nothing like that. You know what I mean? Or A Quiet Place Day One, you got to crank it up just a little bit. This is nothing like that. This is the audio level. My normal listening level on my Anthem AVM 90 and my 1140 is -24, right? Some people listen louder. I don't know how people's hearing is. I can crank it up louder if I want to get more dynamics and, just really rock the house. But my hearing is so good, I don't, feel like I ever need to do that. You know what I mean? Unless I have somebody over and I'm trying to impress them with my system, I might go to -17 or at times -15, a reference if I want to just let them say, see or hear how a home theater can sound in comparison to a local cinema. And I'll do that every once in a while, but I, normally -24. I want to preserve my hearing as long as possible because I love watching movies and I love watching movies in my home theater. At -24, I heard everything. You know what I mean? Very clear. I didn't feel like there was too much semblance in the center channel. I didn't feel like that. I felt like, people's voices had enough depth. I didn't feel like I needed to like change the center channel to 60 hertz or, you know what I mean, or 70 hertz or nothing like that. It was running at 80 and everything sounded really good and intelligible. Very good separation. Obviously I'm running separates, you know what I mean, and the Anthem AVM 90, but it was, even so, it was very good dialogue. The one thing about the audio I wanted to mention, and I don't know if people are going to mention this, there's a scene, right? And there's a lot of scenes like this, but there's one particular scene that, the main character is in a phone booth. That's all I'm going to say, right? He's in a phone booth. He's on a call, but it's tons of scenes like that. So it's not ruining anything. So he's going into the phone booth and the camera's outside of the phone booth. When he gets in the phone booth, it sounds like you're standing outside of the phone booth and he's in the phone booth. You know what I'm saying? And then like he starts talking and it feels like you're in there with him in the phone booth. And then it kind of is like you're just outside of the phone booth. Like the way they did it, and then he like opens the door, right? And you can hear, this is how detailed this audio mix is, right? You can hear, like when he opens the door, you can hear the sound from the sound booth escape. You know what I mean? Like as he opens the door. That's how detailed the audio mix was in this. And I don't know, like, if, like trend offs or whatever, you can hear like little subtleties and stuff like that. You're going to hear way more than you can with like a Den and a Marantz or, like Onkyo or, whatever, right? The Anthem AVM 90 is very close to a trend off. You hear a lot of details. So I don't know if it's that or whatever, but I heard like so many, like in that movie, so many little details like that. Cause like when you're watching the movie Gravity, right? And the camera goes into Sandra Bullock's helmet and you can, it feels like you're in her helmet, right? Or like when she, it's like different scenes, and they're playing on the audio, whatever. I felt like they did some of that in this movie, but it was very subtle, like the effects channels, like the left and the right channel, like how it complemented what was going on in the film. I think it was very surprising. Like if you have like a astute ear for sound and you're like listening to this track, like in this movie, certain things might catch you off guard. Like, wow, like that, they did it like that. That's how I felt. Right. And then like, again, like, when you're in the dream world, at certain parts in the dream world, like when the track starts getting energetic, it gets energetic, and it's like everything is complementary to each other. Nothing's overbearing. Even though the bass was a lot in certain parts, it was very clean and controlled. And I know a lot of this comes down to calibration or whatever. You don't hear your room breaking up or nothing, but you can feel a lot of bass, in certain parts. And I thought it was masterfully done the way they did it when they did try to, get you excited about different things like within the movie. I thought it was good, but the audio track was surprisingly good and for different things, right? It's not going to wow you like a Tron Ares, you know what I mean? It's not going to be anything like that, like over the top bass or nothing like that, but it had a lot of bass, but it was controlled and clean. You know what I mean? So I was very, very surprised with that. I didn't think this movie would even do anything like that. You know what I mean? So that was I was pleasantly surprised with that, I will say. As far as, how do I say this? Could I recommend the movie? I would say yes and no, right? The reason why I wouldn't really recommend this movie is because the movie as a whole, I didn't really think the acting was really good in the movie. You know what I mean? So it's one thing, like if you just want to hear different type of sounds, like through your sound system and how your sound system can react, you know what I mean? That's cool, right? Like if I could recommend it for some scenes, nothing really demo worthy, but it's, some scenes are done really well. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's like, Does it deserve a listen? Yes and no. You know what I mean? It's not that great of a movie. The second watch, when I just like let the movie play it and watch the movie, I'm like, I felt a little bit better about it, you know what I mean, than the first time. Because the first time I was expecting something and the movie went a completely different direction, you know, and I was just so taken back by the direction that it went in. I was just like, you know, what am I watching? You know what I mean? So, but the second time I watched it, I was just like, okay, I see the director is trying to be different. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different things that he's trying to be different about. But, you know, all in all, and I will say this is a spoiler, right? But it is, but not, because it's in the trailer. But I'll give you 5 seconds to get out of here. You know what I'm saying? It's still technically somewhat of a spoiler. I would say this is a spoiler. All right, y'all ready? So I feel like they tried to do a rendition of A Nightmare on Elm Street, like in the movie, right? And the trailer kind of, I mean, you can kind of see it, you know what I mean? But that was a little weird. But the way they did it, I think the director, the way they wrote it and everything, like, was creative enough to make it, it's kind of obvious, but it's not like they're just completely ripping off Nightmare on Elm Street. The problem I think the movie suffers from is the acting. You know, sometimes like you get a lot of actors that may be related to super high powerful people so they can be put in movies that they don't need to be in. I don't know if that's the case, but the star and the co-star, I don't feel like they did a good job in this movie. You know what I mean? And that's why I can't really recommend the movie unless you just want a movie to just listen to. You know what I mean? But then you got to wait till you get the dream sequences to get like the audio to really kick in. So I can't really recommend it. You know what I mean? If I'm going to be completely honest with you. But as far as, you know, if going into the movie, did it meet or exceed my expectations with audio and visuals? The second time around watching the movie, I will say this. The grainy parts in the dream world was a little unsettling the first time I watched it. I'm like, yo, this is way too much grain. People are not going to like this. But you start to see, like, the second time you watch it, like, okay, this is a different type of movie. This is not like your traditional major motion picture. This is kind of like an independent film. And they've got a nice camera and they're trying to do different things. It might, you know what I mean, bite off of an idea here and there, whatever. But the way they're going about the movie in its entirety is a little bit different than tradition, right? So it's okay. You know what I mean? I will say it's okay. If I'm grading it like Weapons, right? Weapons, I feel like was an all right movie. You know, it was a little weird, but it had its parts in the movie where you're taken off guard. You know, the jump scares were really good. You know what I mean? Like the characters were very good. And Weapons, this movie's not like that. You know, it's like the jump scares may get you here and there, you know, but the acting is not it in the movie. Video and audio quality didn't meet or exceed my expectations. Visually, it's about where my expectations were. You know what I'm saying? Just a little shocked with the grain and the dream sequences. Audio exceeded my expectations. I will say that. You know what I mean? So as far as this movie, I think it's coming out on 4K UHD in December, like mid-December, I think. The kaleidescape version is going to be the same, if not just a little bit better than what you're going to get on the 4K UHD. You know, so I think it's got Dolby Vision, if I'm not mistaken. I think my TV switched to Dolby Vision. I didn't see when it did it, but it probably has Dolby Vision. It's got Dolby Atmos. More likely it's got Dolby Vision. I didn't really, if you're talking about like Black Crush and stuff like that, I did see Crush in the movie. You know what I mean? So, and I've got like a pretty good top tier television that I'm using in here. You know, so I've got an LG G4, you know, so it's very good. It's not a LG C1. It's not none of that. It's the LG G4, right? And it looks really, really good. It's OLED. And you do see some Black Crush, but I think it's the design of the movie. You know what I mean? It's not like they're trying to make this super detailed and then they're losing detail. It's not like that. You know what I mean? I think it's meant to be like this. But it was all right. You know what I mean? Video quality was all right. Audio quality, step above what I thought it was going to be. You know what I'm saying? I'll probably give it audio maybe at 8.9, 8.8, just because I liked, you know what I mean, some of the sound design, and I liked how they accentuated certain things, you know what I mean, that was moving in the movie, you know what I mean? So shout out to them. Shout out to Kaleidescape for, you know what I mean, getting the movie a little bit early. So yeah, you know what I mean, should you go watch it in the movie? If you ain't got nothing to do, you already seen Tron Ares, go see it. If Tron Ares is in the theater and this is in the theater, go see Tron Ares. You know what I mean? I'm just saying what it is. But shout out to everybody. If you can, like the video. Let's get this into the algorithm. Also, make a comment. Let me know what you liked about it, if you didn't like about it. Another thing about audio, right? Real quick. I know it's 20 minutes in. As far as processors and receivers, I think it's going to affect, you know what I mean, what your experience is going to be. Like, if with the movie like this, if I was to play it on my Cinema 50, my old Cinema 50, or I hooked up my Denon 3800H or my Anthem 1140, you know what I'm saying, it's not going to sound as good as an Anthem AVM 90 separate processor. It's not. It's still going to sound good, but not as good. When I'm telling you about, like, he's in a phone booth and it's accentuating like different things, you know what I mean, you might be able to hear some of it, you know, but if you got a separate processor, something really good, like maybe a Marantz AV10 or something like that, you're probably going to hear things like that, you know what I mean? But shout out to everybody. Let me know what equipment you got. Shout out to everybody. I'm out. Come rate, subscribe, and I'm not haterade. Do want to put that out there. My subwoofers work here. So, hey, hater, if you do a review on this movie and you say it don't have no bass, oh my God, bro. Like, oh my God. This has got pretty good amount of bass. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to everybody. I'm out. Come rate, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think about that. Peace.